Smart shoppers know that more often than not, luxury offerings usually share at least their basic foundation with the mainstream product. That is the case with the Honda Pilot and Acura MDX, which is why I'm betting you're watching this video in the first place. So is the MDX worth the extra moolah, or are you better off sticking with the Pilot? Let's go ahead and find out. Of course, pricing is very important in this comparison, so we'll start there. For the MDX, we have the top-end Advance model, with the optional SH all-wheel drive system. Other than that, the only expense is the $995 destination charge. That brings the total to $59,045. For the Pilot, we actually have the Touring trim, which is one rung below the top Elite. However, I counted up the differences between the two trims and only got 5 insignificant items. So, for the sake of fairness, we will grade the Pilot as if it were the Elite trim. That trim starts out at a little over $48,000. And as with all Hondas, there are no additional options to add. That means with destination, the price comes to $49,195. So that puts our price difference at almost exactly 10 grand. To upgrade from a loaded Pilot to a loaded MDX. To compensate for this gap, Pilot will start out with a half point per $1,000, or 5 points. But now that we've established that, let's get to the point-by-point comparison. Like I said, a lot of siblings share basic componentry, and that is the case here. They both have 3.5-liter V6 engines, though the Acura's does make 10 more horsepower at 280 versus 290. And then for transmissions, they both share the same 9-speed automatic. Now the Elite trim will come standard with 4-wheel drive, while our MDX has the optional and more advanced super handling all-wheel drive system. That all-wheel drive system is responsible for the main differences in how they drive. MDX is the sportier of the two, since the torque vectoring gives it increased limits and capability. In most other ways though, they are pretty similar, with the MDX having the edge in steering feel and the transmissions behaving the same. The MDX does ride better since the Advanced trim comes with the adaptive variable suspension for 2019. Finally, both have identical fuel economy ratings of 19 city, 26 highway, 22 combined. That's it for the powertrain info, so let's go ahead and move on to the exterior design and features. Of all the different parts of these two siblings, the exterior designs are the least related. The Honda definitely has the more conservative look up front, but the updated 2019 grille does help things a lot. The Acura goes for the bolder diamond pentagon grille, which is accented by their signature jewel-eye full LED lights. While the MDX's setup does look a little fancier, there is no difference in the actual technology, since the Pilot's lights are also now fully LED. And then at the bottom, both do have LED fog lights. So while subjectively, the Acura does look more appealing to my eyes, I try to keep my opinion out of it, so I won't award any points since they have the same features. Moving to the side and the back, both are relatively plain looking, but the MDX is better overall due to the chrome accents and integrated dual exhaust outlets. And while we're back here, I will mention that both can tow a pretty good 5,000 pounds when properly equipped. Now checking out all the other features, they have a lot of similarities. To start, both have nearly identical turning circles and ground clearance figures. And the same goes for the 20-inch wheels, which are shockingly similar to each other in overall design. Heading to the mirrors, both come fully loaded with heating, LED turn signals, power folding, and auto-dimming abilities. They both also have blind spot monitoring, but the indicators are on the inside of the pillar. Now as far as all the other safety features, both knock it out of the park. They are top safety picks, and they come with automatic emergency braking, lane keeping assist, adaptive cruise control, and auto high beam headlights. These features are standard on all trims, not just these loaded models. However, there is a difference in the warranties, since the Acura comes with the longer basic and powertrain warranties, but neither of them have any type of complimentary maintenance. Last but not least, we have the fuel ranges. Since both have 19.5 gallons and the same fuel economy, obviously the fuel range is identical at 429 miles. Acura does recommend premium fuel, but it's not a requirement. So as you can see, thus far these two are quite similar. But now let's go ahead and see if that same family resemblance carries over into the cabin. Getting inside both vehicles is very easy thanks to standard smart entry. And then as far as the fobs, they both have the same abilities like remote start, but the MDX's is significantly larger and uses real metal. First opening up the doors, like on the outside, the interior styling looks nothing alike. Our Pilot has real leather seating finished in light gray, while the MDX has the more premium Milano leather finished in parchment. As far as the actual seat functionalities, both are heated and ventilated with memory, though the MDX has 2 extra ways of lumbar support. Moving on to material quality, as you would expect, MDX does beat the Pilot here. Both have soft touch dashboards, but where the Acura stands out is its use of real open pore wood throughout all of the cabin. For 2019, they even added it to the center console. Just press the button to start both. Now checking out the gauges here, interestingly the Pilot actually has the more premium setup. It uses a large 7-inch reconfigurable display, while the MDX has a smaller and crunchier looking driver's display. Moving back to the steering wheels, they are both leather wrapped and heated, but you only get power adjustment with the MDX. Next up we have storage, where both models absolutely strive. Acura went with a traditional armrest center console, while Honda went for a blank space to simply set things like purses. Regardless though, both have tons of space underneath the lids, and even more storage up front. So overall, I'd call these roughly even. Now coming back to the shifters, they both have the same electronic one, which I did find to be pretty easy to get used to. Both also do have paddle shifters, though you'll only find the 360-degree camera on the MDX. Checking out the climate controls, this is an area where the Pilot has the advantage. Both are 3-zone automatic. However, on the Acura, half of the controls are located on the screen, which just makes things more confusing than they need to be. Anyways, now let's go ahead and listen to some audio samples. These two systems have the same speaker count, and honestly, I couldn't hear a major difference between them. Next up, we have the infotainment systems, where the Pilot has seen a big upgrade to the latest Honda Link system. This system now has better graphics, performance, and touch response, in addition to both Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. There are also some new functions like LTE Wi-Fi hotspot and the cabin control app. By comparison, the Acura soldiers on with the old-style Acura Link system instead of the new version found in the RDX. While it does have 2 screens instead of 1, it just ends up splitting the functions so that it becomes a little bit confusing as to which functions fall on which display. You do still have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, but that comes up on the top screen, which you have to control with the knob. And overall performance is also slower than in the Pilot, so I'm going to give the Honda the point here. Another interesting Pilot advantage is the panoramic moonroof. For some reason you can't get one on the MDX no matter what, but it's standard on the Pilot Elite. Now let's go ahead and check out all the rear areas. Checking out the back, the Pilot is more spacious despite sharing a foundation. Legroom is 38.4 inches compared to 36.6 in the MDX, and headroom is 40.2 inches compared to 38.3 in the MDX. Both of them do have rear climate controls as already mentioned, as well as heated rear seats. But where the Pilot has the edge is that the upper end trims come standard with rear entertainment, while the MDX needs another $2,000 package. Moving on to the third row of seats, space is decent on both, though you can tell that the Pilot is more accommodating overall, with more legroom and headroom. Additionally, there are no rear climate vents in the MDX, which seems like a strange oversight for a luxury vehicle. It is also worth mentioning that the MDX's shape makes the maximum capacity 2 in the back instead of 3 in the Pilot. Moving around to the rear, both crossovers have power tailgates, but the Pilot has foot activation that the Acura does not. Once they open up, you'll find significantly more space in the Honda. Behind the third row, Pilot has 16 cubic feet versus 15.8 in the MDX. But with the seats folded, that lead expands to 46 versus 38.4. Finally, with all the rear seats folded, the max number is a massive 83.8 cubic feet versus the MDX's 68. And then finally, for your last thing, the MDX's power passenger seat has 4-way lumbar support. Well, with that, we conclude this sibling rivalry comparison. As you can see by now, they have more in common than separate, but they do have a different mission in mind. The Pilot is all about functionality, whereas the MDX has less minivan-like utility, but also more luxury. As always, we suggest checking them out in person before making any kind of decisions. Thanks for joining us on another Car Confections Face-Off comparison. And be sure to subscribe for more comparisons and our signature full review videos. See you next time, and take care.